Next up, my friends, we have two of my favorite people that we have on this show, and I'll go ahead and bring them up because I'll introduce them as they're coming. We've got Deanie Elsner, the CEO and just resident kick butt person and human being at Charlotte's Web, right? And JJ McKay, one of my favorite moderators in Benzinga history. JJ is entertaining. JJ is fun. He's got great artwork behind him. Deanie does too. So this is exciting, you guys. Super exciting. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to get out of the way. Do your thing.
Well, thank you, Patrick, for such a great introduction. And we're so happy to be here at the Benzinga conference. It is an amazing day as the country starts to reopen up to really engage in one of the best growth industries you've ever seen. And today, our special guest is Deanie, who is the CEO of Charlotte's Web, who is doing an amazing job. And it's a company that is going to make it in the long run and is truly a pioneer in medical marijuana. Deanie, give us a little update on the company.
Oh, I'd love to. JJ, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and Patrick is one of my all-time favorites. So just a little perspective. Charlotte's Web was went public August of 18. The Farm Bill was for CBD was signed into law December of 18. I came on in May of 19, and a lot of 19 Charlotte's Web spent our time managing and kind of evolving the management team. In order to succeed in this industry, you've got to have a management team that's got great experience and agility. This company's got tremendous optionality. I needed people in place that could actually run the company in a really excellent way. 2020, we spent a lot of time building our infrastructure. So in the pandemic, we acquired Abacus Health Products. We set up a whole new manufacturing infrastructure, stood that up. We got certified in organic. We got patents on our products. We got a B Corp certification. That was all in 2020. A lot of our focus in 2021 and 2022 will be evolving our footprint and expanding our presence across the country, across the globe. We're entering a number of new countries. We just announced our cultivation going into Canada about 3 weeks ago. We've got a great partnership in Israel. We'll be expanding into Europe. So that's going on. And then we announced the option purchase agreement with the Stanley Brothers shareholders to expand within the sector. So we're moving. We've got the infrastructure. We intend to be here for the long term, and excited about the future.
I guess the second best thing that Charlotte's ever done is one, found the company and come up with great products, and hire you because you have been doing phenomenal work. My God, I'm tired. I should take a nap after listening to all you've done in the last 2 years. So I love the expansion. I think Canada's a great market. Europe is probably the best of the three markets because it's slightly bigger than the US. Israel, great. But the biggest market that you have right now is really the United States. Where do you think, and where does Charlotte's Web think we are in the United States with medical marijuana, and where are we going to be in the next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, you know what? I'm encouraged with where we are today with marijuana in the United States, period. In about half the states, you can get medical marijuana or recreational marijuana. That is so much further than I would have ever expected it to be at this point. So in a lot of ways, I'm really encouraged. We're finding that cannabis has got tremendous efficaciousness with a bunch of disease states that we're all going to be afflicted with. And so as humans, we want to have access to those natural botanicals. On the positive side, we're seeing great momentum. We're seeing great movement in both houses of Congress to legalize cannabis, and I love seeing that. On the negative side, some of the stuff the Biden administration is doing is a little questionable. The push on 280E, and I think really the firing of staffers who have smoked cannabis in the past is sending mixed messages. But in general, I think by next year, we're going to start seeing some of the bills open up, the MORE Act, State Act, and Safe Banking Act. I don't know that we'll see federal legalization of cannabis in the next couple of years, but I would anticipate in the next 3 to 5 years, we definitely will see it. And on the medical side, I love the proliferation of medical cannabis into personal wellness. I think there is a segment opening up in cannabis that's not just medical marijuana. It is really focused on personal wellness, which is let me have access to slightly higher levels of THC above what today is available with CBD. And let me manage my anxiety, my depression, my inability to sleep. Let me manage my pain and inflammation myself. And giving that access is a big part of what we're trying to get done.
If I had a quarter for everybody who shared those stories about how they want to do that and what a difference it makes in their life, the first dose would be the biggest investment fund there is.
You're absolutely right.
And coming from the, growing up in the Deep South, I am amazed of how Alabama, Mississippi, and those populations are really starting to embrace medical marijuana and make it incredibly different.
Yeah, Louisiana. I mean, you've got a lot of the Southern Bible Belt states who are absolutely embracing this category, and consumers deserve it. They want it. 75% of adults in the U.S. want this legalized. So we've got good things ahead.
Well, and once again, you are a great leader considering your history in food of jumping and following and being slightly ahead of the trends by your expansion globally.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk a second about that.
Yeah, in large part, we're a company that leads with cultivation. We're a vertically integrated company. We produce our own seeds, we cultivate our product, we extract our biomass, we produce our own products, and we distribute our products. So what that means is consumers have complete transparency and traceability of our products. There's never anything that we're buying on the outside and then putting into our products. It's controlled all the way through the system. What that has enabled us to become is the world's most trusted hemp extract company. And for Charlotte's Web, that is a great foundation to move into cannabis, because 50% of consumers want to move into cannabis and they want to move in with company or with a brand they trust. And so for us, getting that right is the foundation. International for us will be leading with cultivation, which is why Canada was so important. Canada is a little bit of a crowded market. I don't know if you've noticed, but Canada is a strategic move for us, because from Canada, we can expand and export biomass, we can export finished goods, and we can export extracts. So Canada enables us to get to the rest of the world until we're able to register our cultivars in those parts of the world. And so for us, strategically, Canada makes a ton of sense. Israel, I mentioned, we've got a strategic partnership with CanDoc. Israel is the deepest country in terms of research and clinical on medical marijuana and CBD. We are partnering with a number of institutions there as we enter that market. Again, that will impact the entire world. And then you mentioned UK and EU. I love what's happening there. The Europeans tend to be more progressive when it comes to an industry like this, although the Americans have surprised me. And Charlottesville will be there front and center in those countries as they develop.
So where do you think we should go next? What needs to be done, both for the industry? Yeah,
it's a three-part issue, right? And as the market share leader, we take this very seriously. First, it's legislatively. You've got to be involved with pushing the legislation forward at the federal level, at the state level, and you can't let up. And so we've been very actively involved in California, Florida, Illinois, Michigan, Colorado, New York, actively engaged in getting those states set up. We also have been really busy on the Hill. I'm really encouraged that we've got 2 bills for CBD pushing forward, cleaning up the Farm Bill Act, parts of the Farm Bill that didn't get put in right. The House Bill 841, as well as the Senate bill that was introduced last week. They're both relatively similar. The Senate bill includes food and beverage, but what they're going to do is force the FDA to regulate this category, which will be a large step in getting medical marijuana regulated following that. I think from that, we've got to become really engaged with the FDA. We've met with the FDA about 8 or 9 times over the last 15 months. We have to get CBD regulated first, so that then there's a framework to regulate cannabis. Getting cannabis legalized is the first step in the process. Then the FDA has to regulate it so that we all know how to play in this category. And then finally, on the marketing standpoint, we're the market share leader. We have to educate, advocate, and really drive awareness for this category. So we are busy across all 3 aspects: regulatory, legislatively, as well as education and awareness. And you can count on Charlotte's Web to continue to push that forward.
And it's amazing. I mean, you have an incredible team that's really building relationships at all levels to make sure this happens.
Yeah, very much so. And I think you need that. I think the complexity of this category, the dynamic nature of this category, it is so fast moving that if you don't have experts that have tons of experience, have contacts, and can move the ball forward, you won't survive. And especially in CBD, today in CBD, we're trying to get regulatory built on it as a dietary supplement so we can get into food, drug, and mass. That will be the precursor to getting into dispensaries for cannabis. And so we have to get this framework right, because once CBD gets this framework right, then medical cannabis will follow and recreational cannabis will follow. And that's the part we're most excited about.
You know, when we launched the Fresh Toast in 2016, CBD was just a subset of the marijuana market. And now it's a rival to it all. And it's really mainstreamed so much more quicker because of just what you said. It's in dietary regulation. It's done all sorts of stuff. And it's brilliant of Charlotte's Web to be able to have a strong presence in both markets.
Yeah, but you know what? This is the consumer leading us, and I think that what's so great about this category is this cannabis sector is going to move into a consumer product goods category. It's going to have segments. It's going to have need states. Companies are going to have to compete from a marketing standpoint to win consumers' dollars. And when that happens, the consumer wins. And so for us, we have to get this established. We have to expand our footprint into new adjacencies so we can continue to grow the consumer. And what's happening with the consumer is she's coming in through CBD, but she is quickly following into the cannabis sector. Now, she's not going in there. A third of them are going into cannabis not wanting to get intoxicated. She's going into cannabis because she's going in for personal wellness reasons. And so Charlotte's Web is in a position to be the bridge between CBD and cannabis wellness. And that category expands our total available market by 3 to 4 times. That's where the opportunity is for Charlotte's Web. We take our forms and our formats, we expand slightly higher levels of THC, and we go after need states and conditions to delight the consumer. And I think if we do that right, we will win every time.
Well, what's interesting is, we work with 80% of America's practicing physicians, and Charlotte's Web provides a wonderful reassurance to them is the fact because you're vertical, they could tell they could rely on your product every time.
It's a big
one of the things we hear is they want to make sure that the product is the same in Florida as it's going to be in California and as it is from May to June. And right now they can't guarantee that. And so that makes doctors incredibly hesitant. Yeah. And your message is something that I think is at the forefront of helping physicians feel comfortable having that conversation.
JJ, you're exactly right. Physicians play a really important role because 50% of consumers who come into this category come in because their physician or medical practitioner told them to come in. And so it's almost a permission slip to come into the category. Once they're in, physicians have to know the product they're recommending is the same bottle to bottle, year to year, state to state. And that's what Charlotte's Web does with the vertically integrated supply chain. Consistency and trust is the foundation of this business. The Seven Brothers, the Stanley Brothers, their number of first consumer was Charlotte Figge. If that product strayed or varied bottle to bottle, year to year, Charlotte would react. And so they put in place an infrastructure that ensured complete consistency, quality, and safety. And that's the bedrock we've built on. And so for us, to get to the consumer, we've got to have the endorsement of the medical community. The endorsement of the medical community comes with a high quality, consistent product. And so that is a big part of our push.
So you can almost say that your mission is patient first.
It's a big part of our mission. Our mission is to unlock the power of botanicals globally, but it has to be patient first. It's got to be endorsed by the doctors. It has to be there because scientifically, that's what's going to convince consumers what this category is all about. And so for us, it plays a very big role in our business.
Well, I think that's incredible. And I know you're doing a lot to help those consumers work with that. Are you partnering with or support groups for cancer and so forth to help people?
Yeah, actually, yesterday we just announced a new clinical and research project at the University of Colorado focused on anxiety and sleep. That follows a study we announced at Harvard based on anxiety. We are partnering with some of the biggest medical and research institutions across the country to get after these conditions and need states so that we can advance the science, push the FDA to regulate this category so we get everybody producing safe, high-quality products the consumer can trust, but also demonstrate that Charlotte's Web is advantaged in this market, that we are different, and we've got the proof points that demonstrate we're different. And so for us, that's a consumer promise we're going to keep.
And I think that's incredible, the fact that you're able to do those type of things, because that's what's important. And over the last year, anxiety and sleep have been incredible. We did a story that said, that came out, there was a polling that came out that said more people would, during the harshest part of the lockdown, would have traded sex for sleep. And that is crazy.
But you did. I read a survey that coming December of last year that our anxiety and depression levels were up 4x versus what they were before the pandemic. The biggest legacy of this pandemic is going to be the impact it has on mental health. It is not normal to lock up humans in their house and say, don't interact. It's just, that is not a normal human activity. And so for us, CBD and cannabis play a really important role in helping people get back to personal wellness and putting themselves at the forefront.
I am just delighted because working in the industry, we want to see players be really, really successful. Of how you've positioned yourself to slip into the CVS's, Walgreens, Targets of the world, both in the pharmacy and in the stacks, the shelves, because that's what it's going to take for the average American to integrate it into their life. Because, we don't go to specialty stores as much as we go to our grocery store, our Target, our Walmart, and you're there with a brand that doctors trust that will allow people to breathe. And that is just such a great model for y'all.
Yeah, and I think it's a model that's going to win. We are going to be where consumers are. So we'll be in the food, drug, and mass. We'll be in those retailers. We're going to be available online. But beyond that, as we expand our footprint into cannabis wellness, it's going to be the same brand in both channels. So we're going to have an awareness opportunity. We're going to have an efficacious advantage. And consumers are going to know that it's a brand they can trust, regardless of whether they buy it at Walgreens as a CBD, they get recommended by their medical practitioner, or they find it in a dispensary with slightly higher levels of THC. This is a brand that's arguably the most recognized brand in the world in this entire sector. And we have the opportunity to move across all these different distribution points and all these different categories. And so for us, that's important. That's the optionality that we owe our investors.
Good. Well, I just think that Charlotte's Web is one of those brands that medical community can like and work with, that allows them to interact with their investors without having a problem, and can convert the Targets, the CVS's, and the Walgreens to being a champion of medical marijuana federal legalization.
Yeah.
And that's an important part. So is there anything else that the company is doing that we need to make sure everybody knows, and anything that people could be doing to help move the movement?
Yeah, I think that we are active, and we will get some information over to you so people can plug in through some of the stuff we're doing. But I think a really great organization is the Realm of Caring. It's a nonprofit. It is kind of a bridge for a lot of consumers, helping them understand how they come into CBD, how they come into medical marijuana, and how they come into recreational cannabis. The Realm of Caring also is very active on the legislative front. And so getting a hold of your legislators at the federal and state level to push this agenda forward, let them know that you care, that you believe you deserve to have access, and to push this legislation forward so the FDA sets the regulatory environment for everybody to enter this category, I think is the biggest thing we can do today.
You should have your comms people reach out to us and share, so we could do a story and we could push it out to, we work with a majority of newspapers around the US and Canada. And so it's a way to be able to get that story out and to provide resources where people have questions. I mean, I get text at 9:00 at night. My friends, has this symptom. What can I get? What can I get tonight?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not a doctor. I'm a publisher.
You're close. But it is
a vape and martinis.
It is. But you know what? You deserve to have access. I deserve to have access. And you know what? It shouldn't take this kind of work to get consumers into this category. It is a plant that's been around for 10,000 years. We've just, for the last 70 years, had a little bit of a blip in terms of how we manage it. But prior to that, no issues. Let's get back to putting this plant in the prestigious position it belongs.
Okay, wave a magic wand. Where do you want to be in a year?
You know what? In a year, I want to have a global commerce footprint in the CBD and the personal cannabis wellness area. That's what this company is going to be. We do that. We expand our TAM by 4 times, and we take the position as one of the top 3 to 5 companies in the globe in this sector. And I think that's the place Charlotte's Web belongs.
Well, if anybody could do it, I think you're going to be the one to do it, because it is just exceptional how you've done this.
You're very
a big fan. Parting words for our audience. What do you think that you wanted them to take away about Charlotte's Web, and how can we move them into activation to help their friends understand what you're doing and how it can help them on an individual basis, at the very least, get a good night's sleep?
Okay, so parting words are this. It is a category not to be scared of. It is a category to enter with caution, but knowledge. So enter the category, take advantage of what this plant has to give. And if you've got an ailment, whether you are anxious or whether you can't sleep or whether you've got pain, inflammation, you just feel like you're off your game, CBD and medical marijuana, cannabis wellness is the place to come into. So get the information, push your legislators to take action, and let's get this thing regulated so you can feel safe buying the products on shelf today.
And I think that's the greatest thing possible. And I have that conversation at, Zoom cocktail parties right now, but at cocktail parties before, and now that they're coming back, talking to people about getting better sleep just as this. And it's an entry thing. And it's also, what's the worst going to happen? You're going to fall asleep. Oh, that's it. That's what we want. And of course, they're talking about crazy right now during COVID. People have been talking about crazy dreams. So that has been definitely something different. So we've just shared our website. Deanie, you have been amazing. Thank you for all that you're doing for the average person. Think what you're doing for the industry. You're adding a great reputation to the medical marijuana, the CBD, and the cannabis industry. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you, JJ. Patrick, it's good to see you. Thanks so much.
Good to see you both. Man, that was so cool. Thank you. You guys, Deanie Elsner again from Charlotte's Web, CWEB, and I believe it's CWBHF. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Deanie.
Correct. That is correct.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure we'll see you both later. JJ, thanks a lot, man. Always a pleasure, and a great discussion. Thank you both.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Take care.